Today I'm reviewing not only the screener of a brand new movie sent to me by Acrostar Productions, but I'm also reviewing one of their shorts, which you can go on YouTube and watch for absolutely free right now.
What?
So yeah, this video is going to be a little on the longer side, but I really do think you're going to love the movies that I'll be talking about. Greetings friends, and welcome back to the 3-Minute Horror Show. My name is Ben, your host, and I love horror movies. In fact, I watch the bad movies so that you don't have to. You're welcome. The first thing I'll be reviewing today is the movie Perfect Soul from 2026. Nikki Strange uncovers the secrets held by the townsfolk of the strictly religious village of Perfect, with some help from her ancestors, a coven of witches that were burned to death in the 1700s.
Wow.
This movie was directed by Steve Herman, and it was based on a story that he wrote under his pen name S.J. Herman. Steve is the president of Acrostar Productions, and I do have his permission to use the clips that you're going to see throughout the rest of the video. Perfect Soul will be available to stream on various platforms in mid-July of 2026. We start off with a little story exposition from the 1700s. This is a place named Perfect, where two young women in period-appropriate garb are seated next to each other. Abigail, the older sister, is attempting to instruct her younger sibling Carrie Ann on how to use her power. They appear to have some sort of magical ability, but all of that is cut short as their mother arrives and tells young Carrie Ann to run and never look back. Mother and Abigail are caught by an angry puritanical mob who burn them, along with the rest of their family, at the stake. Carrie Ann, who is played by Avery Curtis, manages to escape, and now we're in the present. Back in 2014, a show named Salem premiered on the WGN network. It was a period piece that took place in the 16th century in Salem, Massachusetts during the time of the witch trials. Perfect Soul, despite the fact that it takes place in contemporary times, reminds me very much of Salem. In fact, I think if you were a fan of Salem, you're going to enjoy this movie very much. Salem's story focuses on a witch named Mary Sibley, who's played by Janet Montgomery, and who is married to the head of the town, George Sibley. She doesn't love George, but at the same time, he's very rich and very powerful. Now, Mary is secretly running Salem with her witchcraft, and she deals with anyone who poses a threat to her grand plans. Eventually, her lover, played by actor Shane West, comes back from war and makes her life tricky. On top of that, a preacher named Colton Mather has been placed in the town by the church in order to run the witch trials. And when things get out of hand, they send in his father, Increase Mather, played by supreme badass Stephen Lang. And that guy is a real freak, let me tell you. Anyways, it was a great show, it lasted 3 seasons, and Perfect Soul really captures that essence. Next, we're introduced to Nikki Strange. She's played by Chloe Lutz, an Acrostar main player, and Nikki is a very religious young woman. She lives in the Christian fundamentalist town of Perfect, and her father is the pastor. Nikki is homeschooled, very sheltered, and the boy that she's interested in is going off to college at the end of the summer. Her friend Amber is back from school, but Nikki's extraordinarily domineering parents forbid her from talking to her. After all, she's been in the devil's playground. These are just the first cracks in the veneer of godliness that we're going to see from these people. Nikki does eventually meet up with Amber in the forest, and Amber tells her all about her new college friends. As I mentioned before, Perfect Soul is based on the novel written by S.J. Herman, which was independently published in 2019. It's got a rating of 4.6 out of 5 on Goodreads, and it's got the same rating on Amazon. Perfect Soul was also released as an audiobook in April of 2026, and it was narrated by my wonderfully talented friend Mel Heflin. Now, I asked her if she wouldn't mind sharing some of her thoughts on Perfect Soul and the recording of the audiobook, and she said the following, and I quote, "I tried to do an impression of Mel's voice and it sounded really bad, so instead I'm going to do her quote in my voice and give you this visual aid to help you pretend that I am Mel. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. Steve is one of those rare writers where you really can't guess what's going to happen next. Reading his writing is always a treat. Voicing Perfect Soul was really fun for me since the audiobook came out before the movie and I wasn't on set. You might hear me try to guess and emulate a few actors that I know." Mel is a very talented and prolific voice performer, and her praise of Herman's work shouldn't be taken lightly. She knows what she's talking about.
Yep.
Nikki's parents figure out that she met up with Amber in the woods and they punish her. Physically. It's really bad. That's the second crack in the veneer. The next day, after Pastor Dad delivers his sermon, we meet some of the other characters from town. Michelle Hefner, Ann Myrna, and Hunter Redfern are all there, and when everyone goes their separate ways, the illusion that these people are trying to project is completely shattered. Everyone is a sinner. Some really bad stuff, too. It just so happens that as this happens, Nikki's true family, The family of witches who were burned to death and perfect in the 1700s appear to her to lift the veil from her eyes. Steve Herman has crafted a masterful tale of the dangers of zealotry, manipulation, faith, and denial. No one is perfect and perfect, and the witches are there to expose the truth. Acrostar has assembled a very talented troupe of actors, and their abilities are on full display in this movie. Chloe Lutz is a standout in this particular film, and she delivers an incredible performance. The effects were good when they were required, and since this was mostly a character-driven piece, they weren't required a lot. This was standout indie horror fare, and I give it top marks. Bravo! I rate Perfect Soul a 10 out of 10. Normally I'd be saying goodbye now, but we're all friends here, right? I like you guys, so how about I give you a bonus review? You'd like that, wouldn't you? Right on, here we go. Today's bonus review is yet another indie horror film, also from 2026. This is another Acrostar production, and it was also written and directed by Steve Herman. Acrostar regulars Beth Metcalf, no relation, Ashley Hefner, and Chloe Lutz are a trio of young women who have rented a house to party in for the weekend. They need to blow off some steam, so they grab some booze and go. They drink, they bond, and suddenly they hear a noise. It seems they're stuck in this house with a killer wearing poopy underwear on his head, complete with skid marks.
Is that a skid mark?
This is a parody film, and every indie horror trope in the books is thrown at the young women, including Rudy Ledbetter. It's quite funny, and there are lots of little guest spots mixed in with the jokes. All three main characters did great jobs, as they always do in Acrostar films, and eventually the mystery of who this killer is will be revealed, as well as our final girl. This movie is a 30-minute short that you can go on YouTube and watch for absolutely free right now. It's very well done, and it's a great example of what filmmakers do when they're taking a break from making movies. They make more movies. The performances were great, and as we've already established, that is something that we can expect from the team at Acrostar, and it was very well written. It's very hard to put a slasher movie up on YouTube without violating any community guidelines, and they've done it. This one is a whole lot of fun for a small time commitment. I rate yet another indie horror film an 8 out of 10.
Oh, damn!
Okay, now I'm done. As always, a link to my Letterboxd appears in the video's description. Please leave me a like, comment, and subscribe, as it really does boost my engagement, helps my channel grow. Smell you later, nerds!
You know how your fingers bend?
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
That's so cool.